today we are going to be learning about the creaming method. The creaming method is one of the quick bread production methods, and it's typically used for cookies and cakes, but it can be used in a variety of quick breads as well. So when I talk about creaming, the first thing I'm talking about is creaming together my fats and my sugars. And I'm not only looking for just simply mixing those ingredients together, but I'm looking for a texture change to actually happen. So while yes, the definition is mixing together your fat and your sugar until light and fluffy, it's also incorporating that secret ingredient of air to get that texture change. So that's something to be aware of when you're doing the creaming method, is you're actually incorporating air and you're seeing a textural difference. So I've already put my fat, which in this case is butter today, into my bowl. I'm going to go ahead and add in my other key ingredient in the creaming method, which is sugar. So I'm going to put that in and just mix it. So right now it is mixed in, but it kind of looks like wet sand. I'm actually going to put a little bit of food coloring in here to really highlight the texture change that I'm trying to achieve. I'm going to pulse them out, and then I want to show you the difference between just when the sugar and butter was mixed compared to when the sugar and butter is creamed, because there is a difference. In the creaming method, it depends on the quantity you have, the speed of your mixer, but it can take several minutes, and it's probably going to take 4 or 5 minutes to have this fully creamed the way I want it to. If I put it on too high of a speed, remember we're creating air pockets in this, so if I have it on too high of a speed, I could possibly deflate those air pockets as that paddle is going around and around, and I don't want to do that either. So I want it high enough where it's actually going to incorporate some air into my product, but I don't want it too high to the point where it's going to deflate my progress. So I'm going to pull out another sample just so you can see the texture difference at this point. So this is my first sample that I pulled out. So you can see it kind of looks like wet sand. It's really dense in texture, and you can see that the color is more concentrated on this first spoon. This is the second, my last one, once it's done with the creaming method. And you can see that the color is not as concentrated as the first one. It's not as dense. We can see an actual texture component, how light it looks, how fluffy, and that's because we have air incorporated in. If I put my liquids in too fast, it will curdle, and that means the mixture is going to separate, and I'll actually see like the chunks of fat in there, and it's no longer going to look like a cohesive mixture, but kind of a chunky mess. So I don't want my mixture to curdle. Another key to not having your ingredients curdle at this stage is having your ingredients at room temperature. Okay, that's incorporated in, so I'm going to add my egg. So I'm going to go ahead and put my dry ingredients in now. Another reason why the creaming stage is so important is at this point, once my flour goes in, once it's incorporated, I want to stop the mixer, because if I keep going, it's just going to develop gluten. And I don't want that with the cookie or with the cake. I want it to be soft and tender. If I do not do the creaming method correctly, I'm going to end up with less cookies than the recipe calls for. Whereas if I cream correctly, I should have the correct amount that the recipe called for, because my mixture is going further with the air that has been incorporated. And this is one of the biggest indicators to see if you did the creaming method correctly. So you can see that the cookies have kept their shape, they have just a nice dome shape to them, and they have some light browning around the edges. If you have not done the creaming method correctly, typically your cookies will spread out very flat. Often they'll be touching each other together because they just spread out so thin, and they typically have a wide ring of a very dark edge. And so that's an indicator, if you did that, that you want to try it again. Again, remembering some of those different steps, not curdling the mixture, taking your time to actually see that textural difference, and that way you'll end up with that nice, chewy, soft cookie instead of a flat, crunchy.